Hello and welcome to Talk to Your Health. I'm your host, Dr. Derek De Silva. Colon cancer affects 1 in 20 Americans and it's the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States. Unfortunately, only 1/2 to 2/3 of the people in the United States undergo colon cancer screening. Since March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, we thought it was a really good time to inform all of you about this very serious problem. Dr. Mark Fiorello is a board-certified internist and gastroenterologist and also a hepatologist. Dr. Fiorello is a doctor with advanced gastroenterology of Bergen County in Englewood Cliffs. Also with me is Dave Dubin. He's a 3-time colon cancer survivor who is now an advocate to raise awareness about getting screened. Thank you, gentlemen, to both of you for being here.
Thank you.
You know, I've heard colon cancer called the silent killer. Can you comment on that?
Well, there are classic symptoms of colon cancer, such as change in bowel habits, persistent diarrhea, constipation, and passing blood per rectum, unintentional weight loss. But there are a lot of people who don't have any of these symptoms. That's why it earned that title, and that emphasizes, I think, the importance of screening even without symptoms.
You know, Mark, excuse me, Dave, the idea of being screened and the fact that you had colon cancer 3 times?
Actually, twice. Kidney cancer was the 3rd time.
So you, I mean, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, the first time I was 29 at the time, and I actually did have symptoms. So.
And what symptoms, by the way, did you have?
I had blood.
Blood in your stool.
I had cramping. I felt like I was trying to pass a baseball, but actually it turned out to be the size of a grapefruit. So I did have the symptoms the first time. I don't know how long it was growing there before I actually was diagnosed correctly. But you alluded to the silent killer component. The second time, I actually did not have symptoms. So you're correct in that fashion as well.
And you had, what did you have the second time?
I had colon cancer the second time. It had been less than a year since my previous colonoscopy. And I was a frequent blood donor at Community Blood Services. And after 5 years of being cancer-free, you're allowed to donate again. So I started donating, and I went there on a Friday, and my iron count had dropped like a stone. So realistically, if I had not been a blood donor, I may not have been caught in time.
Colonoscopies, doctor, they're so important, they're so critical. The one issue that I have that a lot of my patients talk with me about is the prep. Can you talk to us about that prep? And where are we today? Is there anything better we can do than that nasty prep that people have to do?
Well, the prep has a bad reputation, but I can't emphasize how important it is. I think it's probably the most important part of the procedure. Without a good prep, small polyps on the order of 3, 4, 5 millimeters can be missed even by the best gastroenterologist. So it's very important. Typically what the prep entails is a clear liquid diet the day before, and that could mean broth, tea, juice, Jello, even black coffee, which a lot of people can't go without their coffee, so that's a good thing. And then at night, typically the patient will take 2 to 4 pills, followed by a certain volume of fluid as decided by the gastroenterologist. The preps are not as bad as people make them out to be. They taste better nowadays. We're using less volume, and even we're doing things like splitting the dose, some at night, some in the morning, just to decrease the volume and make it more doable.
Dave, you are now a huge advocate. Before we came on the show here, you were telling me about some of the things you're going to be doing. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're raising the level of awareness to people out there?
Well, sure. What happened was, essentially February of last year came around, and I kind of found out that March was Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. You would have thought I would have gotten the memo a little sooner. So I did a little investigating, and I spent a lot of time online. I found a lot of groups that are doing some real good work out there. And I found one group that does a colander.
Colander?
Colander.
Like a colander?
Like a calendar. It is a calendar of colon cancer survivors.
Is this you?
That is me.
Wow, what a stud muffin.
Mr. January. All right, I'm blushing too early in the show. So a group of us applied, and over 100 people applied, and it's a great thing. So we got together, we did the photo shoot, we got together with other survivors, and it was a great way of raising awareness. What I was not expecting was to hear from they're just kids. They're 17, 20, 22, 25. And they look at me as some sort of inspiration because I've lived into my 40s. which is very surreal because I forget what I was like at 29.
Right.
So now I bring my colander and I do a lot of signings at various events.
That's fantastic.
Among other things.
Yeah, risk factors. What are some of the risk factors for colon cancer, doctor?
Well, the average colon cancer is well,
family history.
Family history is a
number
major risk factor. We begin screening the average person at 50, but if there is a family history, we tend to screen 10 years before the family member was diagnosed.
Right. Obesity is number 2.
Obesity is a major one, with a sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise.
You know, obesity is implicated in everything,
A lot
isn't
of
it?
things
I mean, it's
nowadays.
unbelievable
Right.
when we look at that. And smoking, obviously, is another one that's implicated in everything.
Many things.
So, and sedentary lifestyle?
Yes.
Why is sedentary lifestyle? How does that fit in?
Well, the lack of exercise and contributes to obesity.
Okay. Ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease.
Right.
How is that?
Any inflammatory bowel disease, whether it be ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease that causes chronic inflammation in the colon, can lead to the development of cancer earlier than the average population.
And also being African American.
Right. We found that there's a higher incidence of colon cancer in the African American population, and they're advised to be screened sooner than age 50. At age 45, typically, with no symptoms, we tend to begin screening.
Now, Dave, when we talk about this whole idea of raising awareness, okay, you mentioned the Red Bulls, and you're going to be doing something there.
Very excited.
Do people listen? Do people really pay attention when we raise awareness on programs like mine and the programs that we're doing? Do people pay attention to this?
I think they do, and especially when it comes from someone who's like me, who's younger, relatively good shape. You would not think that I was a 3-time survivor based upon looking at me, and the other people who were in the colander with me, you would say the same thing. So a lot of the presentations that I go on, typically you'll have a doctor such as yourself give a presentation talking about clinical programs, talk about clinical issues, and then I'll get up there and I'll ask, people will ask me a lot of questions. You know, and it can be varied based upon a number of topics, and I'm comfortable with it.
Right.
And that often hits home. So the thing we're doing with the Red Bulls, you know, where they're making a game of the 25th in honor of colon cancer awareness and Alive and Kick, and that's huge
fantastic.
because of the Hispanic market.
Absolutely. Can we talk a little bit about some of the symptoms? Dave mentioned some of them. What are some of the typical symptoms? And we're going to be putting them up also. Number 1 is bleeding.
Right. Any type of rectal bleeding or passing blood per rectum, whether it be black stool sometimes or red blood, should be evaluated and not ignored.
And unintentional weight loss. Makes sense?
Yes, yeah. People that are not exercising and they're eating a normal diet and suddenly they start losing weight for no clear reason.
Change in bowel habits.
Right, whether it be persistent constipation, persistent diarrhea, that doesn't go away.
So I think the bottom line here for everybody out there and for everybody watching this is get your colonoscopy done. If you have a family history of colon cancer, we're supposed to start screening at the age of 50, start 10 years earlier, right?
Exactly.
And just get it done. I think that's the message here.
It's that simple.
And it's that simple, absolutely. And I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you with us.